Okay. So what do you think about the pictures and videos? I mean, I think it definitely helps with the bounce rates and how people perceive the page. But then again, search engines are stupid. They don't understand one single picture or one single video. They just don't understand it. Yeah, I can put the alt text in. I can take my audio and transcribe it and put it in the description areas. But then again, they still don't see the picture. They do not understand what's on there. I mean, I know that some search engines are buying smaller companies that try to break
look
through.
at it and, exactly.
But what's your thought on that? Because there's so much work, taking those great pictures and great videos, and still, I mean, they only help me from those aspects. They neither help me with on-page stuff, really. Mm-hmm. They don't help me with off-page stuff. They really only help me with, let's say, the user aspects of it. But then again,
so here's the value to you, right?
It sounds expensive.
Well, but you hit on it, okay? This is a user experience issue, all right? You want to make sure that when a user shows up on your website, they stay engaged on that page. You're going to do that with videos. You're going to do it with audio tracks. You're going to do it with images, all of that stuff, because that's what people are looking for. They're looking for the multiple photos of that product. They want to see the video of that RC helicopter in action, I know a buddy of mine in Germany crashes his like several times a week, so he's always looking for more.
We just had one in the company, and they destroyed it in less than an hour.
Exactly.
It's like $200 gone. But.
Exactly. But you want to see the video of that thing flying before you spend the first $200.
It was a short video.
Right? But it still was enough. But this is the point, right? It's the user experience. So imagine if I show you as a first result, and then a user clicks on that and goes in and stays on your website. They're looking at the photos of the helicopter, they're looking at the video, they're watching the stuff, they're engaged with it. This is what I see. I see me ranking them, I see the user clicking on it, I see the user leaving me and going to the website.
And staying there for quite a while.
Don't see them coming back, right?
One question.
That makes a big difference to us.
One question directly on that. Page speed is a big factor too, it seems at least, or at least it has grown from 0 to something. Mm-hmm. So if I have 10 pictures per product and 3 videos, my page will take long to load if I don't go for like lazy loading or Ajax or any type of that funky stuff. Do you think, people have to think of page load and, let's say,
definitely a balance
content-rich
in there.
stuff?
Yeah, there's definitely a balance in there, right? Most websites, most web pages, even with some added video and image content, don't necessarily have to worry too much about it. Okay? It's something that you want to be aware of, because if it has a negative effect on the user experience, we're going to see that. I mean, we're going to ping the URL and the clock starts ticking and we're wondering, what are we waiting for, And we also know the difference between, we're on a slow internet connection versus, it's actually components from your website. I mean, so it's not like you can look at it from home and go, oh, I'm lightning fast or I am so slow, this is a problem. That's an unreliable way to do it, right?
So you have to aim for both and try to find a compromise yourself?
Yeah.
Or you would think one is more important than the other?
Yeah, if it's my website, I'd be skewing toward user experience. That's what I'd be looking toward, okay?
Because the internet will become faster over time anyways? Or
all of those things,
Or you think
we're seeing bandwidths increase, we're seeing speeds increase, we're seeing all of that kind of stuff. That's happening anyhow. But more important all of this is, when a user shows up and they look for something, they want to find it. Users generally will wait a little bit for that page to load. There's an assumption of relative slow throughout all of this. The real kicker is, though, that if you give them a lightning fast page that doesn't have any tangible content that they can really look at or enjoy or engage with, and you say, all right, I know it's 9:30 at night, I know you've had a long day, and I just gave you 1,000 words that you're going to have to read through, but I'm going to give you the best written description ever of a helicopter. You know what? They're going to go back, because at that time of night, at home, the kids are in bed, they're relaxing. What they want is a quick video to watch, some images to look at, so they can dream about what they want to buy, right? So you have to make sure that's in there. Don't go and load up 50 images on this thing that are all 10 megapixels and that kind of stuff, right? People get carried away on that. They go out and they buy a really nice camera, they turn the thing up to full power, and they're looking at it going, this is the most crystal clear image ever, and there you go, and I can show you detail, I can show you the smallest screw on that little thing. No one needs that level of detail. right? When they buy the product, they can look at it and see the little screw, Prior to that, they just need a nice small little idea, right? Okay. I remember 5-6 years ago, the guideline on image search was to have images somewhere around 250 by 250 pixels.
Which is
right?
small, actually.
Exactly.
These ways, I would say it's a little too small.
It was a reasonable size then to have on a page that you could click and see a larger version on,
okay.
right? So that would allow
like
you
mid-size,
then...
not the thumbnail,
exactly.
but the mid-size version.
Exactly. So it's like a large thumbnail that would allow somebody to click on a result, and then as a separate URL, you would see the full-size image.
Which would still make sense.
Exactly.
All right.
Yep.
Can I jump a little on a topic?
Certainly.
What would you say, if we come back to Brazil, let's say I have a content website that has like 200 subpages. I'm like a local simple service, not a highly competitive area. Mm-hmm. And I have an office in Portugal and in Brazil. Mm-hmm. And can I use the same exact content, just change the address? And if one top-level domain is targeting Portugal, like PT, and one is targeting Brazil, what's your take on that?
Just be careful to try to make it as unique as possible to the market, right? They may be both Portuguese languages, but they are totally different countries.
Yeah.
So
let's say my Portuguese website even gets 10 Portuguese links, and the Brazilian website gets 10 Brazilian links, but the content is the same.
Doesn't change my answer.
Okay.
You have to try to be as unique as possible for the market, right?
Okay. But within Brazil, this website is unique. The other one is not targeting Brazil.
Agreed.
Okay. So you think for
But there are going to be things happening in Brazil that have nothing to do with Portugal, and vice versa. So you're naturally going to be creating completely different content.
You think so? But look, if
the football team in Portugal is not the same one playing in Brazil.
Let's see. Like, you have a great T-shirt on. I'm selling great T-shirts.
Okay. Yes.
Okay. So I have a great website, like an online shop for great T-shirts.
Yep.
And I sell great T-shirts in Portugal, and because this is the only language I speak, I sell great T-shirts in Brazil too, because I know somebody there that can do the logistics.
Exactly.
So in this case, it's the same T-shirt. It's the same sales pitch I'm giving. It's the same description about materials and so on I can give. What about that scenario?
Make sure you're giving us the right signals, right? Because if all you do is take that content and just say, okay, copy and paste over to here, we need to understand that great T-shirt...
10 additional local links.
Right.
That's only other signal I'm giving.
But don't just rely on the links, right? Go into the webmaster accounts, make sure you get the geo-targeting tags in your header tags.
Okay.
Make sure that you're using not just those 10 links, but you're looking for other things to reinforce the fact that this is it. Because are you hosting 2 different websites in 2 different locations? Or are you hosting in one location?
I'm hosting in one location in the US, both of them.
Right, okay.
So it's really confusing for you guys.
No, we're just going to need as many signals as you can give us to tell us which domain is applicable to which location. And the more signals you give us about that, the stronger we can trust that that's accurate, that the results we're taking in from you, and then the results we give back to that local market are accurate to the market.
So we're back to our Portuguese and Brazilian website. Mm-hmm. So you say we have to give more signals, which means within the webmaster area, I define, okay, this is located for this, and in my meta tags, I do the same, and I have some local links. You think that is sufficient, or do you think I should walk the extra mile and those 100-page content that I have, I wrote different content to be different?
You should always walk the extra mile for us. There's no question about it, okay? We need to know that the result we're going to give back is properly targeting that area. Yep. Because if we're going to take the result in, we're going to have to understand and trust.
But the uniqueness of content is something else, something different than the targeting of a certain area, right?
Yes, it is.
So I don't even want to optimize for gray shirts Brazil, gray shirts Portugal. I just want to optimize for gray shirts.
Yep.
So duplicate content is what I'm worried about, and not which geographical area I'm targeting.
But if you're using them in 2 different locations, then they're not duplicate to each other.
Okay.
Because one's targeting one country, one's targeting a different country.
Okay, so I can
So if you can tell us very strongly that these belong to 2 different countries, then you can avoid the duplicate issue. Okay. You can also avoid the duplicate issue by not using the same content, by writing it a little bit differently.
What would you do
right?
if you were the great T-shirt seller?
Oh, if it were me, I'd be going the unique content route. No question at all. It's easier, it's more straightforward, and it is very dependable. So you can actually sit down and say, well, that's what I wrote for Portugal, that's what I wrote for Brazil. There are only so many ways to talk about a gray T-shirt, granted. However,
there's a Portuguese way and then there's a Brazilian way. It's completely different.
Exactly, right? You may look at it and say, say, well, common language, but culturally, this is how we're going to tackle this. So we're going to look at it from one angle here.
I totally agree. But there are people from other big search engines that oversimplify in this case, and it's really interesting to hear a different opinion. I think Sipita, who is listening all the time here, has another